If you are serious about being happy, you need to strive to be perfect. I'll say it again. If you are serious about happiness, you need to strive to be perfect. I'm Leonard Thompson. I'm the founder of the blog Simple Sophia. And in this video today, we are going to be exploring another way, a much healthier way of looking and understanding perfection. Also, at the end of this video, I'm going to invite you to become a part of my email newsletter. And as a bonus to you, I'm going to give you probably my favorite exercise for reducing perfectionist tendencies, for becoming less judgmental, less self-critical. Okay, so stay tuned for that. You're going to be blown away by the exercise, by the way. It's just so simple. You're going to be like, oh my God, it's so simple. It's almost like dumb simple, but it's effective. So it can't be dumb if it's effective, right? So stay tuned for that. The interesting thing about perfectionism in our society is that most of us who are actually perfectionists, we take pride in the fact that we're perfectionists. We say things like, I don't settle for less. And, like the work that I do, I give my all to. And I don't complete it until it's complete, unlike other people. Right? Like my standard is extremely high. So I give it my all. I'm an overachiever and I'm proud of that, Now, yes, that sounds good, right? That sounds fantastic. But the truth of the matter is if that we look at the nitty-gritty day-to-day manifestation of perfectionism lived out, it is destructive. It is harmful. And we who are perfectionists are hurting ourselves. Let's be real. Perfectionism is fueled by the belief that we're not good enough. Now, we're socially conditioned to believe this, right? From the time that we're little kids, we're taught that we have to strive to be smarter, to get better grades, to do better in sports, to be as attractive as we can be, dress as attractive as we can be, get the most attention from whatever sex that you desire, whatever gender you desire, right? That's this idea that we have to strive to be perfect is rooted in the idea that we're not good enough, right? So this alone right there is unhealthy. But if we can be real, perfectionism, it can be addictive. If you're competitive like me, there's a high that you get when you perform better than someone else, when you achieve more than other people. There's a certain high, it inflates your ego. It makes you feel good about yourself, But the thing is that a lot of times, we don't talk about just how unrealistic and how unsustainable the pursuit for perfection is. It takes a heavy toll on our bodies. We're overly critical to ourselves and to others. We're harsh, we're judgmental. We are so quick to neglect neglect our loved ones. We sacrifice self-care, all in the pursuit of perfection. And the crazy thing is that even if we do achieve these impossibly high standards, it's not sustainable. The bar only is raised higher, and all that we sacrifice in pursuit, it's just not worth it. So perfectionism is manifested in different ways for different people, right? So for me, I'm the type of perfectionist where, I would give my all to a task, but if I started to make mistakes and if I saw that I wasn't going to be the best, then I would just stop, Other people, perfection is manifested by them just investing everything and neglecting, self-care, neglecting their family, neglecting their health. So perfectionism looks different for each one of us, but so many of us in our society, because we're socially conditioned to believe that we're not good enough, we deal with this. So the great thing is that there's hope, right? And that hope is that we can define how we understand perfection. And I think that a great way to start is to look at the works of Aristotle. the Greek philosopher who lived thousands of years ago, he looked at perfection in a completely different way than we do in our modern Western society, right? So to best understand the way that Aristotle looked at perfection, imagine that you're holding an acorn in your hand. Now, if this acorn has access to the right conditions, it will flourish and it will grow into a massive oak tree, right? In a sense, you could say that this is the purpose of the acorn. The acorn's purpose, the reason why it exists, is to grow into an oak tree. So Aristotle believed that everything and everyone had a purpose, and that if one lived in accordance with one's nature, then they would accomplish their purpose and be perfect. So let me say that again. For Aristotle, since everything had purpose, a creature or a thing would be perfect if it lived in accordance with its nature and if it became more mature. So that acorn that flourished and grew into an oak tree, that was perfection for Aristotle. Done. So the word that he uses for perfection, the root word is telos, T-E-L-O-S. And this might seem kind of geeky, I know. But that's the Greek word that he used. And that word connotes like aim, end, and is often translated as maturity, right? To become mature. So this is powerful. And this way of looking at perfection is significantly more conducive for happiness than our traditional way of understanding perfection, for three reasons. One, maturity essentially is perfection. See, in our world, perfection is so abstract. It doesn't exist. It's impossible. It's different for everyone. It's different for every circumstance. It's impossible to achieve. But for Aristotle, perfection was a concrete, attainable reality. If something became mature, then it was perfect. And essentially, perfection for Aristotle was fully becoming what you already are. Let me say that again. Perfection, as understood by Aristotle, was fully becoming what you already are. That is huge. That is healing. And that is a beautiful way of looking at perfection. The second reason why this is such a better way, such a healthier, more conducive for happiness way of looking at perfection is because there's no need to compare, right? And this understanding of perfection, it doesn't require any type of comparison whatsoever. For Aristotle, once again, using this acorn analogy, which I'm going to keep on using, just so we're on the same page. The acorn, it didn't matter if the acorn grew to be the tallest or the most majestic or the leafiest tree. That didn't matter. All that mattered was if that acorn became mature, then that acorn was perfect. There was no need to compare that acorn to the other acorns and the other trees that those acorns became. There was no need. This is huge. Think about this idea that right now you are perfect. You make mistakes, but those mistakes are a part of the path to becoming more mature. Wherever you are, some of you right now aren't happy with where you are in your life. You're frustrated with the decisions that you made in the past. You are perfect because you're here, because you're striving to become more mature. You're striving to be who you want to be. You are perfect. And your perfection you don't need to compare yourself to any other person. You don't need to compare your life to the life of any other person where they're at. You know, one of the great truths about life, quick tangent, is that there are no deadlines. You know, there's no milestones that we have to accomplish by a certain age. You know, where you are perfect. If you are striving to be, if you're striving to become more mature, you are perfect. The final reason why I love this understanding of perfection is because this idea of perfection, it's about becoming, like I said earlier, what you already are. It's not about becoming what you can never be. So returning to the acorn analogy, Aristotle never said that the acorn that blossomed into an orange tree was perfect. No, that wouldn't be in the nature of the acorn, right? But in our world, we keep on trying to be something that we're not. You know, we try to be the perfect employee or the perfect boss, the perfect spouse, the perfect parent, you know, all at the same time, you know, and it's impossible. The standards that we place on ourselves, the expectations that we place on ourselves are just impossible. And the thing is that you are already the perfect spouse. You're already the perfect parent. If you are striving to be the best that you can be, if you are striving to be mature. You know, perfect people, in Aristotle's understanding of perfection, perfect people make mistakes. Perfect people have flaws. But it comes down to maturity. Are you mature? Are you striving to be mature, truly mature? The crazy thing about maturity is that maturity in our culture is not something that is a celebrated value. If you're, I know this is true. You know right now, you know at least 5 people who are older than you, but who are way less mature. Because age and becoming older is just a byproduct of not dying, right? If you don't die, you're going to get older, right? But maturity is a choice. And maturity takes work. And a lot of times it's painful. It's difficult. It's something that's not celebrated in our society. What we celebrate is talent, you know, overnight success, wealth. We celebrate those things, but we don't talk about the path to becoming fully what we already are. We don't really celebrate that as much because it's not as sexy. To be blunt, it's difficult. It's work. You know, the recipe is simple, but it's just not always easy. So I'm going to end this video with this. If you're serious about becoming mature, maturity is simple. It's simple. And all you have to do is just understand the answer to 3 questions. Now, I stole this from Ajahn Brahm, the famous Buddhist teacher, and I love it. If you are serious about becoming mature, understand 1, what is the most important time? 2, understand who is the most important person? And 3, understand what is the most important thing to do in life. If you understand those 3 things, then you are on the road to becoming more mature. And I'm going to tell you the answers. Here they are. 1, who is the most important person? The person who is in front of you. That is the most important person in the world in that moment. That person who you are speaking with. That person, that customer that you are serving, that customer that you are trying to understand, you know, what they want, you know, so you can provide the best product. Your spouse, when you're talking to your spouse at the end of the day, how was their day? Your child, whoever is in front of you at this moment is the most important person to you. 2, what is the most important time? Now, the present, this moment is the most important time. So just being fully invested and present in this moment. This is the most important time. This is all that matters in the world, this moment right now. And 3, oh God, what is it? Who's the most important person? What is the most important time? What is the most important thing to do? The most important thing to do is to care. To care for your family, to care for the work that you do, to care for the world that we live in, so that's here for our great-grandchildren's great-grandchildren's, right? That's the most important thing in life, to care. So if you understand those 3 things, then you understand the path to maturity. And if you understand the path, and if you're walking the path to maturity, then you are perfect. I hope that this video has been helpful for you, and I hope that I really encourage you to really throw out the old understanding, the traditional understanding of perfection that you have. So this exercise, I talked about it before. I'm inviting you right now to be a part of my newsletter. Simple Sophia is a blog where I explore psychology, spirituality, in personal development, all in an attempt to answer one question: how can we become wise and happy human beings? And when I talk about happiness, I'm not talking about this like really like moist, like I'm so happy. I'm not talking about that, like smiles all the time, you know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something deeper. I'm talking about a return to our original nature. I'm talking about a wholeness, right? You know, just like a natural, like, you know, yeah, like a wholeness. Um, this idea of happiness is it's true to who we are. So how can we become wise and happy human beings, right? And this is such a fundamental question for three reasons. One, because life is short. We're going to die. You know, what's the point of living this life miserable? Two, the way that we're living, we're literally destroying ourselves, trying to be perfect, not, you know, neglecting our self-care, neglecting our family members and loved ones in pursuit, you know, of perfection. You know, we're destroying ourselves. And the third reason, because the end of suffering is possible. Pain is a reality of life, but suffering is not. We can end suffering. So this is why I ask this question. This is why I blog. This is what the blog is all about. So now that you have an understanding about that, this exercise is so simple, it's going to blow you away. And it's going to help you become less of a judgmental person, less critical, and it's really going to help reduce perfectionist tendencies. So you could look at the link below and click on that link, and it will direct you straight to a landing page, and I have that exercise right there. So to your happiness, and may you grow in wisdom. Thank you for watching. Talk soon.